Okay, so let's get into it. At first, I was gonna do it by with an automated voice, but it don't always hit so, you know what I'm saying, the way you want it to hit. But anyways, the ISIS papers, the keys to the colors. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Okay, MD. Period. Okay, that's my girl. By Third World Press, Chicago. Okay. Dedication. This work is dedicated to the victims of the global system of white supremacy, racism, all non white people worldwide, past and present, who have resolved to end this great travesty and bring justice, then peace to planet Earth. If you do not understand white supremacy, racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Okay? Period. Yes, you got to understand the bigger picture. Okay? Before you can even start understanding all the intricacies. Okay? The nuances, if you may. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, if you do not understand white supremacy, quote unquote racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Neely Fuller Jr., 1971. The United Independent Compensatory Code System and Concept. No person who classifies themselves as white living in the area of the world referred to as the United States of America, or for that matter, in any other area of the world. She's as verbose as I am. Okay, I love it. Okay, there's a specific way that you write, when you have a certain mentality. Anyways, for that matter, in any other area of the world, should presume to tell any black person or other non-white person what racism is or is not until they have read completely Kenneth O'Reilly's Racial Matters, the FBI's Secret Files on Black America, 1960 to 1962. No black person living in the area of the world referred to as the United States of America should discourse on racism or deny the conspiratorial dimensions of the local and global system of racism until he or she has read Racial Matters completely. I definitely need to completely read it. Yes. All non-white all non-white people, black, brown, red, yellow, okay, should read and discuss the implications of the book Racial Matters. The implications for themselves as individuals and the implications for their collective and for and the implications for their collective should be discussed in depth, which is what's going on right now, I believe, which is awesome, but it could increase. Then all non-white people should view the docudrama videotape the Wannsee Conference, which can be rented. Okay, she let you know it can be rented. Okay, to observe exactly how a white supremacy government calmly sits and plans the destruction of a people that it classifies as non-white. The Wannsee Conference took place in Germany in 1941 to finalize the plans for the destruction of 11 million Semites, non-whites, of the Jewish religion. The German white supremacists succeeded in killing 6 million. After the above steps have been taken, all non-white people worldwide should read Neely Fuller's work, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, a textbook, workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, white supremacy. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Washington, D.C. August, okay, the month of my birth, okay, August 28th, okay, that's my birthday, okay, period. Anyways, August 1989, so just a year before I was even born. Anyways, table of contents. I got to read the table of contents because I live. Okay, it's like chef's kiss to each of the chapter titles. Okay, anyway, preface, introduction, Chapter 1, The Crest Theory of Color Confrontation and Racism, White Supremacy. So this was like her first One of her first, I guess, articles that she wrote while she was in college and stuff during her doctorate program. Anyways, so basically it's a collection of all her writings. So I kind of did the same thing when I published my copyrights on the 18th of this month. So it was definitely inspired by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Okay, she herself like, okay, they're like my Beyonce, but like, you know what I'm saying, like my, you know what I'm saying, my cousins. Okay. Anyways, so that's chapter 1. The Cress theory of color confrontation and racism, white supremacy. Okay, then chapter 2, the origin of alienation, anxiety, and narcissism. Okay, chapter 3, unified field theory, psychiatry. Chapter 4, learning to look at symbols. Okay, symbolism. Okay, period. Chapter 5, the symbolism of Christ, the cross, the crucifix, and communion and Christian holidays. Okay. Chapter 6, the politics behind black male passivity and the effeminization, bisexuality, and homosexuality. Okay. Chapter 7, what feud was really what feud was really talking about, the concept of penis envy. Penis envy. Okay, okay, that package envy. Okay, okay, that envy, that that cucumber. Okay, envy. Okay. Anyways, chapter 8, guns as symbols. Chapter 9, the motherfucker and the original motherfucker. Chapter 10, ball games as symbols. The war, the war of the balls. Okay, just playing ball games with each other. Chapter 11, the symbolism of smoking objects. Chapter 12, black fear and the failure of black analytical ideological commitment. Chapter 13, the concept and the color of God and black mental health. Chapter 14, the symbolism and meaning of rape. Chapter 15, the symbolism, logic, and meaning of justifiable homicide in the 1980s. Chapter 16, paper money and gold as symbols. Chapter 17, the symbolism of boxing and black leather. Chapter 18, the Crest theory of the Holocaust. Chapter 19, the neurochemical basis for evil. Okay. Chapter 20, black children and the process of inferiorization. Inferiorization. Yeah. Okay. Chapter 21, racism and black child and youth inferiorization. Okay. Chapter 22, black child parent, the new factor in black genocide. Okay, period. Okay, it's been going on for years, and I mean, like, it's even worse. In fact, it's not even comparable. It's all bad, period. Okay. Chapter 23, the crisis in black male, black female relationships. Is it a false problem? Chapter 24, black women moving towards the 21st century. Chapter 25, the white supremacy system, the white supremacy mindset, and the AIDS Holocaust. Preface. We are now nearing the final decade of the 20th century, the great African in America. The psychologist, historian W.E.B. Du Bois identified the problem of this century as the problem of the color line, souls of black folk, 1903. Thus, it is fortunate that in the final decade of the 20th century, a basis for the solution to the problem of the color line has been produced. This basis rests in an adequate analysis of the nature of the color line, the exact nature of local and global racism. Ultimately, the conscious decision by people of color worldwide, the overwhelming majority of the world's population actually, to base their behavior and relationships on an exact analysis and definition of racism as white supremacy will change its appearance and activity on planet Earth. Just as the problem of the color line, racism, has controlled events in the 20th century and prior centuries, the solution to the problem will regulate events in the 21st century and beyond as we enter the era of justice. Recently, there has been an unraveling and an analysis of the core issue of the first global power system of mass oppression, the power system of racism, white supremacy. Once the collective victim understands this fundamental issue, the ultimate organizing of all of the appropriate behaviors necessary to neutralize the great injustice of the white supremacy power system will be only a matter of time. The length of time required to neutralize global white supremacy will be inversely proportional to 1. The level of understanding of the phenomenon, plus 2. The evolution of self and group respect, the will, determination, and discipline to practice the appropriate counter-racist behaviors on the part of the non-white victims of white supremacy. Thus, the 21st century and indeed the 21st century and indeed the end of the 20th century will be the time perhaps of great devastation. Will be a time perhaps of great devastation, but undoubtedly it will be a time of great change. And the most critical factor in that change of circumstances will be non-white people's ever increasing understanding of the behavioral phenomenon of white supremacy as a global terroristic power system. However, it must be understood that high levels of self-respect, will, and determination without an adequate understanding, analysis, and definition of racism as an oppressing power system will not be sufficient to bring the long-sought goal of neutralizing that injustice and establishing justice and peace for all people, Therefore, it is critical to have a comprehensive analysis and definition of the opposing force. As a black behavioral scientist and practicing general and child psychiatrist, my current functional definition of racism, white supremacy, is as follows. The local and global power system structured and maintained by persons who classify themselves as white, whether consciously or subconsciously determined. This system consists of patterns of perceptions, logic, symbol formation, thought, speech, action, and emotional response as conducted simultaneously in all areas of people activity, including economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, war. Shall we go on? The ultimate purpose of the system is to prevent white genetic annihilation on Earth. Okay? A planet in which the overwhelming majority of people are classified as non-white, meaning black, brown, red, and yellow, by white-skinned people. All of the non-white people are genetically dominant in terms of skin coloration compared to the genetically recessive white-skinned people. When the definition of racism as a strategy for white genetic survival is mastered, one can understand precisely not only the present global power formations and realignments, i.e., USA or USSR linkage and European unification, but also all present urban non-white centered epidemic. I'm speaking of the concurrent urban crisis of drug use, drug addiction, drug-related murder, teen pregnancy, infant mortality, black academic underachievement, black teenage unemployment, black adult male unemployment, black male incarceration, single-parent female-headed households, chronic welfare dependency, poverty, AIDS, and homelessness. See diagram 1, which is right here to the side. Oh my God, it looks like the diagram that I also created, but of course it's way more in depth because she is a psychiatrist. Okay, she's a doctor. Okay, she is Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Okay, big ups. Okay, much respect. Okay, yes. These very disturbing individual and group destructive pathological forms of behavior are the direct and indirect byproducts of a behavioral power system fundamentally structured for white genetic survival locally and globally. White supremacy, domination, and oppression of all non-white people is essentially for global white genetic survival. The prevention of white genetic annihilation is pursued through all means, including chemical and biological warfare. Today, the white genetic survival imperative instead of using chemicals in gas chambers is using chemicals on the street. Like crack, crank, cocaine, ecstasy, PCP, heroin, methadone, all designer chemicals. Ultimately, these chemicals are produced by whites and made available to urban blacks, particularly black males, upon whom the future of black people is dependent. The core dynamic of white genetic survival eventually leads whites to a major act of genocide, destruction of the genes of non-white people, or towards genocidal imperatives. Such a genocide occurred in Nazi Germany between 1933 to 1945, wherein the Semite and Gypsy populations were classified as non-white and therefore were destroyed. The reason that the black male, as recently symbolized by Willie Horton, is and always has been central to the issue of white supremacy is clarified by the definition of racism as white genetic survival. In the collective white psyche, black males represent the greatest threat to white genetic survival because only males of any color can impose sexual intercourse, and black males have the greatest genetic potential of all non-white males to cause white genetic annihilation. So, their penises. Thus, black males must be attacked and destroyed in a power system designed to assure white genetic survival. In the white supremacy mindset, consciously or subconsciously, black males must be destroyed in significant numbers, just as they were in earlier days when there was widespread open lynching and castration of black males, or during the Tuskegee syphilis study from 1932 to 1972, when a large number of black males were used and destroyed by whites. Today, we're witnessing a more subtle systemic approach to white genetic survival. The destruction of black males now is indirect, so that the black male victims themselves can be led to participate in and then be blamed for their own mass deaths. However, through close examination and an understanding of the ultimate objective of white supremacy and collective white genetic survival, the steps to mass black death can be charted. The chain of events begins with the denial of full-scale employment and advancement to black males so they cannot adequately support themselves, their wives, and their children. In turn, large numbers of black male children grow up without their father's guidance. This leads to frustration, depression, and failure in school. Once this atmosphere is established, drugs are placed deliberately in the black community. The drugs are then used to street treat black male frustration and depression. The high prices for which drugs are sold provide the black male population with the illusion that finally they are beginning to make some money and to share in the American dream. Guns are then placed at the disposal of the same black male person, supposedly to aid them in enforcing payment for drug sales. More important, the strategy is for black males to kill and destroy one another and then carry the blame. It must be realized that no black males manufacture the chemicals for drugs, nor do any black males manufacture guns. The same power system of racism has so ingrained a negative image and connotation of blackness in general, i.e., Black Monday, black male, black sheep, black day, and of the black male in particular, that for black males to slaughter one another in the streets daily means next to nothing. Indeed, it is treated as desirable and accepted. Good riddance of bad rubbish. This is in stark contrast to the urgency, alarm, and concern that is generated in the same society with when only when only 25 young white males commit suicide in the course of a 24-month period. Failing to comprehend the environmental context of the white supremacy system and its ultimate goal of white genetic survival, black people also fail to grasp the deeper sense of what actually is occurring in front of our eyes. Okay? Including what's going on in Palestine, and because these are non-white people, basically people of melanated skin, meaning these are your people whether you like it or not. Okay, but you keep ignoring it, like, okay, one person dies, oh my gosh, George Floyd, oh my gosh, but entire nations are being annihilated by these Zionists, and everyone's pretending like they don't see it because money, 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 money. How about all the people, which way outnumbers the non-melanated folks? The non-melanated folks way outnumber those that, I'm sorry. Us melanated folks way outnumber the non-melanated folks. Okay, This is what I'm talking about YouTube censorship. It gets on my fucking nerves. Okay, you know what I mean? Let me say what I gotta say. Okay, let me say what I gotta say. It's not for children. Okay, so I already marked that. Let me say what I gotta say. YouTube, god damn it. But anyways, so melanated folks, we way outnumber the non-melanated folks. So but yet y'all are all relying on the non-melanated folks when everyone that's melanated, which greatly outnumbers the non-melanated folks, can put their money together, okay, and in a way that is, okay, checks and balance, because you know how black men are, okay, they will spend all of the money that everyone is saving on a non, you know what I'm saying, let's checks and balances have to happen, okay, because we know men will be men still, okay. It's still a patriarchy, okay? Anyways, let me get back to reading. So, failing to comprehend the environmental context of the white supremacy system and its ultimate goal of white genetic survival, black people also fail to grasp the deeper sense of what is actually occurring right in front of our eyes. We do not realize that the massive deaths of black males constitute the genocide of black people and black women. Okay, girl, okay, Dr. Cress Wilson, okay, you my girl or whatever, okay, but I've never backed down from, okay, disagreeing, even though I don't disagree, I'm just including black women. Anyways, we do not recognize that the massive deaths of black males and women, had to add that, constitute the genocide of black people. Quote, as it takes black males to make black babies and ensure future black generations. And of course, the biggest aspect of that is black women's. I'm disappointed that she didn't put that there, but I'm sure, I haven't read, it's not the whole thing yet, and I haven't read the whole thing yet with y'all. But I have the actual book because the electronic version, it doesn't have all the chapters in it. But anyway, yes. The destruction of black males for the purpose of white genetic survival is the reason behind the ever-increasing disparity between the number of black females entering and graduating from high school and institutions of higher education compared to the far lesser number of black males. This becomes an additional facet of black genocide. And but every side is all. Furthermore, white genetic survival is the dynamics behind the high incarceration rate of black males in the United States and the difficulty that black women face in literally every system that they have to interact with, which makes black women seem to be, oh my God, just complaining about everything. But no, it is meant and is by design for us to face a challenge everywhere we go. I'm sure a lot of my fellow melanated women can concur with a lot of that. But anyways, furthermore, white genetic survival is the dynamic behind the high incarceration rate of black males in the United States, which is second only to that of South Africa. The high rate of black male incarceration contributes in genocidal fashion to the prevention of black births and the black male supported development of all black children, particularly boys. The genocide of non-white must be understood as a necessary tactic of a people, white, that is a minority of the world's population and That because it lacks the genetic capacity to produce significant levels of melanin, it is genetically recessive in terms of skin coloration compared to black, brown, red, and yellow world majority. Thus, the global white minority must act genocidally against people of color for the purpose of white genetic survival. This is the kill or be killed mentality. This is the reason that people who classify themselves as white behave genocidally towards Semites in the Holocaust in Nazi Germany and Europe between 1933 to 1945. The word Semite is from the Latin prefix semi, meaning half, half black, half white, and that means mulatto, non-white. This is also the reason that people who classified themselves as white behaved and still behave genocidally towards indigenous inhabitants of the West Hemisphere who were classified as red, non-white. Only the willingness of non-white peoples worldwide to recognize, analyze, understand, and discuss openly the genocidal dynamic will bring this injustice to an end. Most important, black males must help one another to understand that they are being led by the dynamic of white supremacy to inflict extreme damage upon themselves, one another, and ultimately the black race. Black males must understand that contrary to what is said, the war being conducted in urban centers is not against drugs, but against black males and black women for the purpose of white genetic survival. Drugs are used as the means to achieve that end. That is why drugs are plentiful, while black males are dying in ever increasing numbers. The recent proposal to treat drug addicts at military bases is only the first stage towards a more formal concentration camp placement, more formal than the ghetto. Mastering the above definition of racism as a strategy for neutralizing white supremacy will permit one to decode accurately the symbolism the new Madonna video like a prayer. Wow, that's how you know what time she was in, okay? Which allows us to decode accurately the symbolism in the new Madonna video like a prayer, designed consciously and or subconsciously by whites to massage, stimulate, and enhance further the collective instinct for white genetic survival. The same could be said by the recent film Betrayal and Mississippi Burning. Furthermore, such an understanding will help clarify the persistent and even violent behaviors on the part of persons associated with the so-called right to life movement, which seek to prevent abortions, especially amongst whites. Recognizing racism as the struggle for white genetic survival helps one to understand what is happening in South Africa. What is emphatically hold on euphemistically referred to as apartheid is only the tactic and strategies of the minority white population, numbering only 4 million persons, attempting to survive genetically while surrounded by a majority black population of 26 to 30 million. This is microcosm of what is happening on the entire planet. Finally, the time has come for unveiling the true nature of white supremacy, racism. For this reason, I have entitled this work The Isis Papers, The Keys to Colors. Isis was the most important goddess of ancient Africa, especially Egypt. She was the sister wife of the most important Egyptian god Osiris, Lord of the Perfect Black, and the mother of Horus. In the astral interpretation of the Egyptian gods, Isis was equated with the dog star Sirius, Sithis. According to the ancient African story, after the murder and dismemberment of Osiris by his evil brother Seth, Isis discovered the crime, recovered the pieces of the body of Osiris, and put them together again, restoring his existence and his power. According to legend, Isis admired truth and justice and made justice stronger than gold and silver. Okay, okay, call me Isis, baby, because that's what I admire, baby. Okay, as well as the gold and the silver. Okay, period. You gotta have that sprinkle, baby. Okay. In the present era, truth and justice have been crushed by the global power system of white supremacy, making the existence of peace on the planet impossible under this reign of terror. The attempt in this work to reveal some aspects of the in-depth truth of about the white supremacy power system for the ultimate purpose of establishing justice and peace in the world is in the tradition of the great African goddess Isis. Call me Isis, baby. The Arab goddess chaotic. Hey. I hope that with this knowledge, the world's non-white people, black, brown, red, yellow, okay, all us melanated folks, okay, but you see the difference. Black is black, brown is brown, red is red, yellow is yellow, but we still melanated, okay? Respect each difference, okay? Period. It's not a slight. Anyways, I hope with this knowledge, the world's non-white people, black, brown, red, yellow, will work more effectively to neutralize this global and most monstrous form of injustice and chaos. Any person not interested in a definition, analysis, and deeper understanding of worldwide white supremacy must have an interest, conscious or subconscious, in maintaining the same. The subtitle of this work, The Keys to the Colors, came from a statement made to me by a patient in a Washington, D.C. public mental health clinic in the late 1960s. The patient was a tall, thin, middle-aged, black-skinned man who in a somewhat confused manner talked earnestly to me about the problems he had experienced in his life. He said, "Doctor, if we could just find the keys to the colors," and he repeated it slowly. It was a statement I never have been able to forget. This work is a portion of my response. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, Washington, D.C., 1989. Introduction. The Isis Papers, The Keys to the Colors, is a collection of essays I have written over the past 18 years following the presentation and publication of my first work, The Cress Theory of Color Confrontation and Racism, White Supremacy. The first paper was a theoretical statement, a psychogenetic theory, and a world outlook on the origin and meaning of the global white supremacy system. The theory summarizes and clarifies our experience as black, non-white people on a planet presently dominated by people who classify themselves as white and who are minority of the world's people. The Cress theory was based upon the insightful work of Neely Fuller, Jr., author of the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, white supremacy. Fuller, the founder of the racism counter-racism concept, was the very first victim of racism to understand it as a global system of organized behavior, thought, speech, and action for white supremacy domination in all areas of people activity, including economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. In other words, he recognized that all activity and behavior encompassed by the white supremacy system had and has its origin in the dynamic of racism. Additionally, Fuller understood that racism contained the seeds and origin of counter-racism. Okay? Additionally, Fuller understood that racism contained the seeds and origin of counter-racism, the behavior dynamic of liberation for the non-white victims of white supremacy. His work led me to question the necessity of the global white collective to evolve such a system of unjust behavior. The result was the Crest theory of color confrontation and racism, white supremacy. Crest is my maiden name. Okay? Period. This theory provided me with a unified field theory approach and understanding in the Einsteinian sense to all behavioral phenomena manifested with high frequency. Okay, she's speaking in code and like, oh, yes, layered code to all behavioral phenomena manifested with high frequency in the local and global system of racism. This man, yes. Okay, this is not only my Beyonce, but my ISIS. Okay, okay. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing plus Ashira Star Guard. Okay, that combination plus the Yoruba Goddess Chaotic. Fuck out of here. That's a global trinity. Fuck you mean? What you mean? Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Ashira Star Goddess, the Yoruba Goddess Chaotic. Fuck you mean? Fuck you mean? All three of us, please. Yes. Okay. The Holy Trinity. Okay. Period. The Goddess Trinity. What you mean? What you mean? Y'all ain't even know it. Y'all ain't even know it. Anyways, let me stop. The great physicist Albert Einstein, in The Meaning of Relativity. I have that book. Okay, I gotta finish reading all this stuff. Okay, 1922 had the following to say about unified field. The object of all sciences, whether natural sciences or psychology, is to coordinate our experiences and to bring them into a logical system. The only justification for our concepts and system of concepts is that they serve to represent the complex of our experiences. Beyond this, they have no legitimacy. The Crest theory permitted me to see and understand many forms of activity on the part of whites and their non-white victims that have been either ignored or taken for granted. These behaviors, which can be viewed as symbolic of the fundamental objective of white genetic survival, are found in the social reflection of the white supremacy power system, the white supremacy culture. Together, the system and culture of white supremacy produce the phenomenon of racism. Thus, throughout their book, the terms system and culture in reference to white supremacy are used interchangeably. Yeah, wow. Throughout this book, the terms system and culture in reference to white supremacy are used interchangeably, because if you look at my theory, the fallacy of hierarchy is like the same thing. And I hadn't even, wow, this is amazing. Okay, the Holy Trinity. Okay, the Holy Trinity. Okay, the Goddess Trinity. Yes, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Ashira Star Goddess, the Yoruba Goddess Chaotic. Please. Okay, what you talking about? Okay. Bully the bullies, I say. Bully the bullies, okay? The bullies are the men. Anyways, yes, throughout this book, the terms system and culture in reference to white supremacy are used interchangeably. This deep investigation and understanding is essential if black and other non-white peoples are to succeed in playing the black side of the chessboard. Okay, oh my god. Y'all, I have so many creations that I'm coming up with. Oh my god. And it's also how I channel myself. It's also how I transmute all the negative events that I'm going through. Okay, you know what I mean? Okay, yes. So this is just perfect. You know what I'm saying? Some people look at things. Everyone has a different way of looking at things, okay? Anyways, defense, offense. In contrast to the white side of the chessboard, offense, defense. In the planetary game of chess, of chess, white supremacy being played out between white and non-white. Currently, the players on the black side of the chessboard are in a continuous state of checkmate, okay? A losing streak, okay? That is centuries long, okay? Can we wake up? Can we stop just, being ignorant? Can we all wake up and, you know what I'm saying? Fuck the group thing. Really start learning shit for ourselves, researching. But look, that's me asking for too much, huh? Anyways, this has happened because of our failure to understand the game. Heretofore, non-white people have not decoded white genetic survival. After presenting the crest theory, my brain computer was flooded with new understandings specifically related to the global white supremacy system. Many things that I, as most people viewed as commonplace, I began to see in a different light. Okay, yes, this is when she was awakening. Thank God. Okay, I'm lucky that I'm awakening now. I've been woke. So let me stop. Yes, it's very interesting to see how other people, you know, articulate their coming into awakening. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, or whatever you want to call it. Anyways, after my brain power was flooded with new understandings specifically related to the global white supremacy system. Many things that I, as most people viewed as commonplace, I began to see in a different light. It was as though an enormous window was opened in a room that had been without sunlight. Okay, I recognized many of the items I saw anew as symbols in the white supremacy system. Perhaps because I am a general and child psychiatrist with considerable experience in interpreting the symbolic play of children and the symbols in the dreams of children and adults. I was sensitive to the symbols in the behavior system of white supremacy once it had been defined and decoded. Those symbols are usually visual entities. They also take form of speech or can be found in activities such as games. Symbols are specific to people and their experiences, their evolved cultures and circumstances. As such, symbols are the entities that carry highly compact messages pertaining to the origin, identity, and survival of individuals and collective peoples. In the form of visual entities, patterns of speech and or activities, symbols contain complex messages distilled from the from the conscious level of the brain computer. I'll read that again. In the form of visual entities, patterns of speech and or activities, symbols contain activity speech and or activity symbols contain complex messages distilled from the conscious level of the brain computer. These messages have been reduced to their essence in the subconscious functioning. There, these highly coded messages are stored and continuously referred to for existence and survival. Once a symbol evolves in a person's subconscious, that person uses the symbol with high frequency and has little or no necessary conscious understanding of its meaning. And I have to read that again. Oh God, it's been a minute since I read this. It's been a couple of years. Okay. Once a symbol evolves in a person's subconscious, that person uses the symbol with high frequency and has little or no necessary conscious understanding of its meaning. Yes, this is so true. Oh my gosh, I was gonna say something, but it just slipped my mind right. You guys, okay. A shared symbol speaks volumes, although contained in a relatively small visual and auditory package. Okay, so what I was going to say was because, again, this just makes so much sense and it comes together because I do have a background in computer science. So when you carry a message and when it's traveling back and forth, this is exactly what happens. Like, oh my gosh. We are living in a technology age for reals, okay? Okay, like for reals, frequency and all. Okay, yes, all of it. But okay, let me read this part. Okay, a shared symbol speaks volumes, and also because a shared symbol speaks volumes, when a people is not of a certain other people, they will never be able to decode a certain message, no matter how hard they try. It'll always take them much longer to decode the message. So just as long as they're basically putting impediments in non-white people's way, no matter how long they put these impediments, guess what? That's how long they need to be able to decode non-white people's messages. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, I can go deeper into that. Oh gosh, it's just what I'm formulating in my mind. But look, we might run into the same thought process in this book, okay? Because when you, I'm not gonna say it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. Anyways, a symbol speaks loudly, or even shouts its meaning without uttering a sound. Symbols communicate from one person's subconscious to the subconscious of another who shares the same identity and survival necessity. Such communication transpires at subconscious levels when the conscious levels of a brain-computer functioning cannot bear to address certain issues. White supremacy is a topic that few can or dare discuss in depth at the conscious level of brain-computer functioning. Few dare to probe or research white supremacy, as this could lead to dismantling of the system, okay, which is exactly what's happening now, which is why a lot of people aren't speaking up, because they're afraid to be, they're afraid to hurt masses' feelings. They're afraid to hurt massive feelings. You know what I'm saying? They're afraid to hurt massive feelings. So therefore, they got to keep staying on their knees, sucking massa off, because they ain't real men, okay, because a real man, okay, because what I like in a real man, okay, is one that's going to speak up, okay, for truth and justice and don't give a fuck, okay, that's a real man. A real man, whether straight or gay, likes what he motherfucking likes, period. That's a real man, okay, that's why motherfuckers be getting it twisted. But anyways, it's it's a lot. I have a lot of thoughts, y'all. Okay, period. But anyways, okay. So, such communication transpires at subconscious level. Few dare to probe or research white supremacy, as this could lead to the dismantling of the system. Ooh, ooga booga booga. Therefore, it is not surprising that there are many symbols in the system of white supremacy that reveal its roots in the struggle for white genetic survival. In the white supremacy system, often referred to as Western culture or Western civilization, period. Like, okay, I be speaking in code and code and code on top of code on top of code. Okay, so those that get it, okay? Period. But anyway, so she get it. Anyway, there is little conscious focusing on symbols, their formation, use, and interpretation. To the contrary, non-white people in their original cultures tend to focus on symbols and dream interpretations as essential aspects of their lives, i.e., African cultural objects referred to as African art, the Egyptian African system of hieroglyphs, and the symbol and interpretation of dreams in biblical stories. Therefore, as an African, it is difficult for me to explain the ability to see and understand symbols. However, I am aware of making certain shifts to a lower frequency of brain-computer functioning. Okay, I am aware when I have descended. Okay, I know when I descended. I know when I'm getting ratchet. Like right now, this is descension. I'm ratchet. Okay, and now I'm back elevated. You see that? You see that? Period. I'm aware of making a certain shift to a lower frequency of brain-computer functioning, away from that frequency required for ordinary day-to-day conscious functioning in order to see and interpret symbols. But I must repeat that my ability to explain a process for symbol interpretation is derived from my ongoing search for a firm understanding of the overall context in which symbols evolved, the white supremacy system culture. Perhaps there will be persons, black as well as white, who fail to appreciate the language of symbols. There will be those who demean the attempt to decode symbols and ridicule their value and my interpretations. Also, there will be those who seek to identify and to decode symbols but fail. Nevertheless, I am presenting certain symbolic aspects of the white supremacy culture in an effort to increase our understanding of racism and thereby assist in bringing justice to the world. An examination of the World Monument in Washington, D.C., and recognition of its symbol of white power, specifically white male power, thus a gigantic white penis or phallus symbol, may assist one who has difficulty understanding symbols. The law that no building in the District of Columbia can be taller than the white phallus shaped Washington Monument, which, by the way, looks like a robed Ku Klux Klan, is not coincidental. The underlying meaning of the monument and law is that there can be no challenge to white power. It is not without significance that the Washington Monument, as a phallic symbol, towers over a predominantly black population in the capital city of the most powerful government in the global white supremacy system. If this is not sufficient, those who fail to understand the symbol should go to the East Wing of the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. and view the painting specifically commissioned for that building by the artist Robert Motherwell, entitled Reconciliation Elegy. This work is a continuation of Motherwell's earlier series of paintings, the Elegy to the Spanish Republic. The entire elegy series consists of massive black forms, some round or oval, some massive and vertical, positioned next to one another. All of the forms are black against a white background. In the book Reconciliation Elegy, Motherwell states, "White has always conveyed to me the radiance of life, so that if one, though this is too literal, if one takes the elegies of metaphor for death and for life and death, then obviously a sense of life as freedom and of death as a terminal vivifer, vivifer, okay, can be an endless obsession and preoccupation. In a curious way, in the Reconciliation Elegy, my black forms, the life-death forms, are becoming personages instead of black stones. The black and white are beginning to merge. Death has become a continual living presence to me." The word the word elegy means a poem of lament or praise for the dead. Oh gosh. The massive black oval and vertical forms, symbolic forms representing death, obsessively painted throughout the entire elegy series, were immediately seen by my eyes. The eyes of a black person, as imposing genitalia, testicles, and phallus of the black male dominating the, the white background, symbolic of the global white collective. While referring to the round objects he has painted as stones, Motherwell seems unaware that the word stone is an ancient term for testicle. However, in his own description, Motherwell speaks of the black and white painting as a metaphor for life and death. White as life, black as death. Certainly, he is not thinking consciously of his paintings of black male genitalia as symbols of white death through white genetic annihilation caused by black male genitalia and black genetic material. But symbols do not arise from conscious levels of thought. Still, however, it is astonishing that Motherwell is unable to see his forms of black male genitalia and name them overtly as such. But does Motherwell consciously understand white supremacy? According to Motherwell, the first part of his series, Elegy to the Spanish Republic, at the level of his conscious thought, referred to aftermath of the defeat of the Spanish Republican Army by the Spanish fascists in the 1935 Spanish Civil War. However, at a much deeper level, it occurred to me that Spain also was conquered for 700 years, from the 8th to the 15th century CE, by black men from northern Africa, the Moors. During their occupation of Spain, the Moors damaged the the efforts of white genetic survival, causing Spaniards to become darker in skin color compared to the rest of the Europeans because of the long-term admixture of African black genetic material, melanin. Only with this understanding does the obsessive painting of the symbolic forms of the black phallus and testicles in a series entitled Elegy, Poem for the Dead make fatal sense, okay? Not understanding the underlying fear of white genetic annihilation in the individual and collective white psyche causes a mere surface interpretation of the painting, even in the mind of the artist himself. Yes, failure to reach the core issue of white genetic survival, resonating in the subconscious, which is most threatened by the genetic power in the genitalia of the black male, relegates interpretation to superficial levels with a failure to see and understand the symbol arising from that subconscious core. Motherwell addressed the issue of white Western survival in his comments on the Elegy series, specifically on Reconciliation Elegy. Against the background of possible nuclear holocaust, we must even reconcile ourselves to the fact that Western man, in choosing centuries ago to exploit nature rather than to marry her, has doomed himself with an industrial technology for which there is neither the wisdom nor the political mechanism to control. Yet, after having said all of the above, Motherwell still remains unconscious of the symbolic forms of in his paintings. Indeed, the industrial technology and the nuclear weapons of which Motherwell speaks are designed by the Western white collective as protection against white genetic annihilation. Other Motherwell paintings of black figures against white backgrounds bear such titles as Africa, Study for Kilimanjaro, and Ancestral Presence. Sorry. This same concern and subconsciously perceived threat in the white psyche of the black male via black male genitalia to white genetic survival is played out in the symbolism of bullfight. In the bull ring, the bull is usually black. The bullfighter is usually a white male or any male in a suit of lights, meaning white. The bull is chased and tormented until it is killed. The killing goes on obsessively as a symbol of white survival in the presence of the black male threat, symbolic of white males conquering black males or of white survival in a world populated mostly by non-white people. Further, we must understand symbols of communion. In the Christian religion, the wine and bread are eaten by the communicants are symbolic of the blood and body of Jesus, respectively. It is important to keep in mind that Jesus was an African, a black male whose color has been changed to conform with the white supremacy perception and ideology. Finally, King Kong, the film in which a gigantic black ape plays opposite of a white female, addresses in symbolic form the threat of the black male to white genetic survival. Of course, King Kong is killed by the end of the film. The papers The papers in this collection were written over the past 19 years. They are dated to give the readers some appreciation of the order in which they evolved in my thought process. Yes, love that. Snap, snap, chef kiss. Okay, they are of a whole cloth. All are derivatives of the white supremacy power system culture, which before now has not been understood in sufficient depth. I agree. Yes, snap, snaps. Several essays address specific symbols in the white supremacy system culture. I did not contrive these symbols. On the contrary, I looked and there they were, okay? Some have asked, why is it that others have not penetrated these deep symbols of Western culture? Why only you? My answer is that I neither saw these symbols nor understood their meaning until I had written The Crest Theory of Color Confrontation and Racism. Yes, that's how it be, girl. Yes. That analysis gave me access to the total spectrum of collective brain computer products, symbols, logic, thought, speech, actions, emotional response, and perception that emanate from those who have established and maintained Western civilization. Having probed the central core of Western civilization, I was able to see into intuition equals into it. Okay, period. Love it. Oh, she writes like me, but of course much better. Okay, I was able to see into it, into to see into intuition, the myriad energy phenomenon that spin off from the dynamic core. Exactly. I don't. She explains it exactly how it's in my brain. Recognize, okay, recognizing the specific injustice committed against non-white people in the framework of Western civilization and culture, it became clear that the entire Western civilization dynamic is fundamentally linked to the fear of white genetic annihilation and the subsequent need, as experienced by the global white collective, for the continuous battle against the genetically dominant global majority of black, brown, red, and yellow peoples. Okay, the organization for that survival is none other than the white race, which carries out the global system of white supremacy. Although initially it came as a great surprise, it is only logical that the myriad symbolic manifestations of the struggle for white genetic survival abound throughout the historic and global structure of white supremacy. These symbols manifest wherever one looks, wherever one steps, wherever one turns. That these subtle and once hidden symbols are everywhere serves as the strongest evidence of the validity of the crest theory of color confrontation. And we're going to leave it at that for now. Thank you guys for joining. Let me know what you think. Comment down below your thoughts. And yeah.